from beautiful, sunny Sun City, Arizona. Unfortunately, it's the COVID capital of the country, if not the world right now. But other than that, we're glad to be here. And I believe we still have Carol in London as from the president of the Durham chapter as a guest with us today. And she's also the Federation membership coordinator. And I think she'll be able to say a few words in that regard. So let's start with a moment of silent prayer. Amen. And if we're able to, let's rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. And everyone can see the flag, I think, with Bob there. And I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic
for which it stands,
one nation,
under God,
indivisible,
with
liberty and justice for all.
Very good. Jim, would you officially welcome our honored speaker today?
All right, Mayor, are you with us?
I'm right here.
I see you. You're looking good.
Thank you, buddy.
Well, the mayor needs no introduction, really, but we don't want to miss an opportunity to say something about him. He's Wilmington through and through. In fact, when you think of Wilmington, you think of Bill Sappho. If you think of Bill Sappho, you think of Wilmington. They go together like apple pie and ice cream, right down to it. He was born here. He went to school here, grade school, middle school, high school, went to UNCW, started a business here, still has it, I'm sure. His family is from here. So, he is everything about Wilmington. Maybe that's why he does such a good job. Anyway, it's always an honor to have him. He's one of our best programs, always has an important message. So, Mr. Mayor, welcome back, and we want to hear what you have to say. Thank you for being here.
I appreciate the opportunity to come and speak with you folks again. And it's always an honor to be with you. And this is the second day in a row I've been with you, because I was with you yesterday with the Senior Men's Club. And that was a nice event that we did via teleconferencing. But obviously, we're in probably one of the most challenging times in American history, to say the least, with the COVID-19 pandemic that we've been dealing with now since last year. It was going on in a year, and we knew it was going to be tough. We knew it was going to be bad, but we didn't realize it was going to be this bad. And it's been a challenging environment for the federal government, the state governments, and local governments. In some ways, it's been kind of a disjointed type of a policy that's rolled out. But hopefully, we're beginning to see the light at the end of the tunnel with this vaccination process, and I believe that it'll ramp up and get better as time goes, just like we saw with the when we started doing the testing. We were having some challenges in the beginning, and it got better and better and better. And I believe that we'll get to the same place with the vaccinations. Wilmington, in some ways, even with this pandemic, even with past hurricanes that we were dealing with, Hurricane Florence and Matthew, is still in a very, very good position in regards to growth. If you like growth, it's coming. And a lot of people that have found us have fallen in love with us. For people such as myself that have lived here all my life, I've always known this is a beautiful area, beautiful community. Never really wanted to leave. But we have now been designated as the #1 city in America where people are moving to, for one reason or another. I can't figure it out at times, but we are. With that comes a lot of challenges, obviously, traffic being one, but infrastructure improvements to water, to sewer, to stormwater, to roads is going to be a challenge, not only for this city council, county commissioners, but also for future, because the potential that we see in growth, talking to our demographers, at the state and at the federal level is that this region, and that what I mean by region is the 3-county area of Brunswick, New Hanover, and Pender counties, has got about 380,000 people today. It's anticipated within the next 20 to 25 years, we'll be approaching 688,000 people within the 3-county areas. And if you look at the demographics, the fastest growing county in the state of North Carolina, percentage-wise, is Brunswick County. And the fastest growing county in the state of South Carolina, as I was telling Jim yesterday, is Horry County, side by side, Myrtle Beach to Brunswick County, to Wilmington, to Onslow County. So that stretch from Jacksonville down to Myrtle Beach is slowly just filling in. And it obviously poses a lot of challenges for the elected officials to try to keep up with the infrastructure that is going to be needed, working with the Department of Transportation and everything that they've been through in the last year or two in regards to deficits that they've experienced at the department. But you know, people can continue to move here. It's going to be a challenging environment for elected officials moving forward. But in this country, you have the right to move wherever you want to. And obviously, people are moving to southeastern North Carolina. It's good for business. It's good for our sales tax revenue. And of course, it helps to offset a lot of the service delivery that we as elected officials have to provide without having to raise taxes a lot. So we use that sales tax revenue and a lot of the growth in regards to our tax base to offset some of that. So there's good and bad that goes with it. The thing that we're working on currently with the city of Wilmington and have been over a number of years is our development ordinances, our ordinances overall, our laws per se. The city has not upgraded its development ordinance since 1984. We did put a land use development ordinance in place in 2004, but we also are in the process of upgrading that land development ordinance or development ordinance that we feel needs to be done as soon as possible. And hopefully we'll have it done by June or July, have it complete with public input, will allow the public to take a look at it and to see what they think about it. What it does entail is that we will obviously add density to the community, but we don't believe that density should just be anywhere and everywhere. We think that it should be in strategic spots where there is public transit, when there is walkability to services, where there are other density issues or density levels that accompany that. And then single family should be protected as much as possible, but with closer service delivery in those neighborhoods. When I was growing up here, let's just say 60s, 70s, even 80s, the predominant thought process for developers was to put your residential in one area and put your commercial development in a separate area, usually a couple of miles apart from each other. Well, that was fine and dandy when the entire county had about 60 to 70,000 people in it. But today, with New Hanover County approaching over 235,000 people and being the second smallest county in the state geographically, you just can't do that anymore. You've got to try to bring in services that are closer to where people live, so the travel distance is not as great. And I feel that the county, as well as the city, is trying to accommodate that to be able to bring grocery stores, pharmacies, and stuff closer to neighborhoods so they don't have to drive or transverse 6 miles, maybe 3 miles to a store, 3 miles back, but more like about a mile, quarter mile sometimes. And also putting in more biking trails, more pedestrian trails in their community where people, if they so choose to walk or ride their bikes, they can do so. As well as not only to go to get services, but also for exercise and just to get outside. So we've got a lot of work to do, but we're getting it done, and we'll have it complete sometime this midsummer. The other thing that we're currently working on is our budget. In every budget I've been a part of, we've balanced the budget. We've had a significant amount of fund balance, and that means money that we've put into our savings accounts. We had parked about $30-some million in our savings accounts. And the reason that we're carrying that kind of coverage for the city of Wilmington, we're here on the coast. We know we're going to get hurricanes. It's not when, it's not if, it's when it will happen. But you have to be prepared for it, and you have to be able to get back on your feet as quickly as possible in the event of a storm. We saw that with Florence. The city had enough money in its reserves that we were able to do the cleanup much quicker. And we get that money, most of that money does come back to the city coffers through a reimbursement process with FEMA as well as the state up to about 90%, which is a good thing. But to be able to have that money to clean up the roads, to pay the contractors, to get the debris off the street, to get us back into what I would call fighting shape, you got to have some money. You don't want to do what happened in Pender County where they didn't have enough money. They had to go back out to the private equity market to borrow money to do the cleanup. We want to make sure that we have enough here to get the community and the city back in operation as quickly as possible. And I think that the city council has been very prudent, very conservative, and have done the right thing in making that happen, as well as get a AAA bond rating, which gives us the ability to borrow money at a much lesser rate of interest because we have a good financial situation. And so when we're doing projects like stormwater projects, road projects, parks projects, we're borrowing money at a couple of basis points below what the market is doing, which saves us, the taxpayers, a tremendous amount of money overall and allows us to continue to move forward with infrastructure improvements that we need. One of the goals of the city for this coming year is going to be to support small businesses. Our small business community has really been hit hard in this pandemic, especially restaurants, bars, nightclubs, small businesses that deal in retail have been really hit hard. And, you know, small business is the backbone of business in America. We know about the Walmarts, we know about the Targets, we know about the big box stores, but it's a small business community that creates the community and creates the vibe in the community that you want. Trying to get additional funding and money from the CARES Act, from Congress to help small businesses is one of the main things that we'll be focusing on, as well as those that are in specific needs that really need shelter and food at this point in time, because we do have a significant amount of people in our community that are suffering because of this pandemic, that have been laid off or whatever the case may be with their situation. And what we don't want to do is create a situation where we have a lot of homeless and things that happen. And so we're doing everything that we can to help those that are in desperate need at this point in time. And that's something that the City Council will be focusing on in this coming budget year. The city just completed a clean energy task force recommendation. We put together about 30 citizens from around the community. I felt very strongly, working with the U.S. Conference of Mayors, that we should do our part as a community to reduce our energy consumption, reduce our carbon footprint. And what we've been able to do with that is create a policy that by 2050, that we hopefully will be about 80% to 100% energy efficient. And that's going to involve a lot of things, but it does take time to get there. Obviously, our vehicles, trash trucks especially, that use a lot of diesel, produce a tremendous amount of emissions. We're in the process of purchasing 3 electric garbage trucks. So I'm very interested to see what that's going to look like and how they will operate. But we were able to obtain funding from the settlement with Volkswagen. Each state got a settlement from Volkswagen, so every community, significant community, got some money from the state government to be able to use, and we're using ours to try these vehicles out and see what they do. If we can eliminate the diesel emissions just from the city of Wilmington, it would cut down probably about 50% of our emissions that we send up into the air, and I think that's a good thing. And I think that from an overall perspective, I think that's what the community wants us to do, is improve the quality of life and improve our environmental issues here in the community. With the growth that we've had here, I think we've done a good job in stopping offshore drilling, which we were all concerned about, and making certain that the environment stays as pristine as possible with all the people that are moving into the community. And I think that we've done a pretty good job. They've got about 30 some recommendations. It will take some time to get there. We're not going to do all this in 1 year, but at least we have a plan of action that city council can use currently and in the future to start putting in the foundation that we can reduce our carbon footprint, but more importantly, also reduce the amount of gas and diesel that we purchase. We spend over $1.5 million a year just in energy consumption. If we can cut that by a half, it would save us a lot of money going forward, and I think that's something that we are definitely going to be able to do. The city's also undertaken a tree initiative, working with the County of New Hanover, UNCW, Cape Fear Community College, the Cape Fear Garden Club, the Tree Commission, the Alliance for Cape Fear Trees. One of the things that we've heard from the citizens over and over again is, with the amount of development that's happened here, with the hurricanes that have passed through the area, we've had a lot of damage and we've lost a lot of trees to development and to hurricanes. And they would like to see more trees planted back into the community. The city's goal specifically is 1,739 trees for this year. 1739 is the year that the city was incorporated. For those of you that are interested why we came up with 1739, And we've had a tremendous amount of support from the public sector. I mean, not the public sector, but the private sector that has donated a significant amount of money to make this initiative happen. The initiative altogether with the amount of trees that we want to plant is about $500,000. And what we want to do with that is try to get as much of that donated by private individuals and businesses and nonprofit organizations and what have you. And you folks could also donate if you'd like to, and help us to plant more trees. Specifically, what I wanted to do in the city was to plant those trees in our public right-of-ways. We did an overall study of our tree canopy, and we're in pretty good shape, believe it or not. We're at 48%. Charleston is about 50, so I want to beat Charleston by all means of measure. But the 48% is kind of disjointed. The majority of that tree canopy that's healthy and strong is in our 1944 corporate city limits, which is predominantly in the historic district, historic overlay, downtown areas. But when you get out into the suburban areas of our community, it's more sparsely treed. So we want to be able to start planting those trees in those right-of-ways that are outside of the incorporated 1944 corporate limits and see what we can do to improve our tree canopy, which is something that I think that the citizens have really embraced. It's one of those issues that I haven't had anybody come up to me and say, Bill, you're out of your mind, you're crazy, this is a great thing. Everybody loves trees, and we're going to do more to plant trees in our community. And we'd like to plant 1739 every year moving forward, where we have planted several thousand trees within a decade. And I think that we're way on our way to doing that. In addition to that, with the civil unrest that we saw this past summer, not only here in Wilmington, but through every major city in America, one of the things that we as a city have undertaken is this initiative called the Rise Together. And to really look at areas within the community that have heavy levels of poverty. We have some significant areas in our city, just like every major metropolitan area does, and identifying those through our GIS system. The things that we'll be looking at as to what the city can do, working in tandem with our county partners and the state, is obviously transportation issues like wave transit, and what can we do to improve the quality of wave transit, not only for those residents that need it because they can't afford a car, but more importantly, what can we do to maybe even get more people to ride the bus? And it would help alleviate some of the traffic congestion and concerns that we have in the city. In addition to that, housing, affordable housing is a portion of this. The city and the county have been working over a number of years about an affordable housing policy, trying to incorporate more affordable housing in every development. Workforce housing, where teachers, firemen, police people can afford to live in our community, because since we're one of the fastest growing and since we're geographically one of the smallest, we have a supply and demand issue. We have much more demand than we have supply. And obviously, you know what happens with that in Economics 101. The cost of those housing and the cost of those lots continue to increase in price because people come in that maybe can sell their houses maybe up in the Northeast for bigger money and come down here and pay a bigger price for a house and want to live geographically closer to the city. So it has pushed a lot of people into the outlying areas, which has created also a traffic issue for the city of Wilmington, where you have about 50,000 people a day that are coming into the community from outside of the community. And what I mean by outside the community, about 50,000 people that come into the county of New Hanover every day that are not residents of New Hanover County. So it creates a traffic issue for us because the affordable housing market keeps getting pushed further and further out. So we feel that we have to have a percentage brought back into the city, especially with our service delivery people that we provide. We have a service economy here that's strong in tourism. So we need to be able to have a certain amount of folks that can live within the community. We're not going to be able to accomplish the total mission of what these folks have asked for, which when we did the study was about 30,000 units. I don't see that happening with the land availability, with the density issues that we're going to allow. I don't see that happening, but I do think that we can make incremental improvements in affordable housing in certain developments. And we've had developers that have voluntarily come forward and said, we want to be part of this. We're willing to put up 10%, 20% of affordable units in our neighborhoods or our apartment complexes to allow people to live here. I do want to make it to let people know that the city of Wilmington and in the state of North Carolina, we cannot force developers to put in affordable housing. They do not allow that at the state level. It has to be voluntarily done. And so working with developers, working through an incentive process, we've been able to get developers that have come forward and said, we're willing to do this, we're willing to participate. The city may participate through some of its CDBG funding programs that we get federal money for. as well as maybe making infrastructure improvements to kind of say, okay, if we're going to make an infrastructure improvement of $100,000, $200,000, we want 10% of that or 20% of that to be for affordable housing, which has been a good thing. Some of the projects that I'm really excited about is this amphitheater park that we're building at the northern riverfront. If you haven't been down there to see it, it's spectacular. We'll have it finished hopefully by June. It'll be a park with an amphitheater attached to it. So most of our major concerts that you see at the Isaiah Festival will be done there, but also a lot of our festivals, a lot of our initiatives where we have to close down streets in our downtown area. Hopefully we'll move to that area. In addition to that, we have worked out a contractual agreement with Live Nation, which is one of the largest concert promoters in the country. I think there's only two, AEG and Live Nation, that are based out of California, that have invested $4 million in the park. And their goal is to have about 50 concerts there a year. We'll have up to a seating capacity of between 7,500 to 8,000 people. And we think it's going to be a spectacular thing. If you don't want to pay for a ticket, we're going to leave the Riverwalk open. That's a public access way, so you can go to the Riverwalk and watch the concert if you so choose from that particular point of view. Or you can get on your boat, anchor there in the river, and watch it from there. So for those that don't want to pay for a ticket, there's an opportunity for people to be able to see it. But I think it's going to be a spectacular thing. And this is something that the voters supported in a Parks Bond referendum back in 2016, overwhelmingly 2-1, and won in every precinct in the city of Wilmington. And I'm proud of that initiative, and it's going to be a great thing for our community. With the amount of people that are moving here, we've got a lot of kids moving here also, so we're having to build more soccer fields. The city, working with the Hammerhead Soccer Club, have negotiated a deal out on 421. There was an old landfill out there that a number of individuals came together and put about 7 soccer fields out there. The Hammerheads Association gave us that property because it was so expensive to come out here and buy additional property. So that gave us a leg up. So we're making a pretty significant investment in that facility there. We'll have 4 additional fields. We're going to pave the parking lot. We're putting a whole new infrastructure out there with a new field house out there with bathrooms, concessions, lights. It's something that I think everybody's going to really enjoy, and I know it's going to be used very heavily, not only for soccer but also probably for lacrosse. That's another game that has immigrated to the South through a lot of our new neighbors that have come here from the North, where they do play a lot of lacrosse, but not only lacrosse, football, and other things. And hopefully we're going to have a field turf out there where we can use for tournament play, because we do have a lot of people here that come here and want to do tournaments, not only for soccer, but one of the biggest tournaments that we have here is a armed services, I believe, rugby tournament that is played here in the Wilmington area that is very, very heavily supported by teams that have come here from all over the country that fill up our hotel rooms, and they just love it down here. Never wanted to play rugby, but I guess there's a lot of people that do. But the women's rugby teams are really the ones that bring in the most people. So I didn't know there was women's rugby, but they're out there, and they're tough. I've gone out there to see it. In addition to that, it's just great to be the mayor of one of the great cities in America, and I've just enjoyed my time here. And Jim said, I was born and raised here. My mother immigrated here in '47 after the war from Greece. My grandparents are from Greece. My father was born here. But what I have seen happen in Wilmington, I knew that there was going to be growth in this particular area, but I didn't anticipate what we have seen. It's I think for us that have grew up here, that are locals here, it's just mind-boggling in many ways. But it's going to be a good-sized area, and I know that a lot of people move here because they like the small-town feel, but they also concerns about how fast we are growing, and that's something that concerns all of us. But again, we're in pretty good shape. I think we've just hired, in the last couple of months, we hired a pretty good police chief in Donnie Williams, and he probably came into office with the toughest issues any police chief could have. I think his first day in the office, he had to fire 3 officers because of an issue that we caught some officers on audio in their cars talking about racial things that should never, those officers should never been on the police force, should never even be police officers. But they were fired immediately, took swift action, and I think the community really appreciated that. Not only the community, but he was on national TV in the way he demonstrated leadership, and I appreciate his efforts. He's a local fellow born in the community, so he's done a tremendous job, and I think he will continue to do good work for the city of Wilmington and for us in the future. So that's about it. So I'll take any questions. I know you folks always have very good questions.
I got some questions.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You ever hear anything about Antifa or somebody that wants to defund the police?
Well, we've heard commentary like that about Antifa and people saying defund the police, and we heard that over the summer months from people that said we should defund the police and reallocate some of those resources. As the mayor of a city, my number one responsibility is public safety. 50% of our budgets go to public safety. Sitting down with our police chief, evaluating those budgets every single year, you can't defund the police. Yes, there are issues in the community where people need help, additional help. We got a digital divide with kids that are now have tablets that the teachers and the schools give them. They can't access to do their homework because they don't have the money to have Wi-Fi hotspots or whatever. And that's something that we're looking at. But defunding the police is the wrong message, and I think it was the wrong message when it was thrown out there, and I think it scared a lot of people. But the city council was in lockstep. Both my more liberal city council members and conservative city council members were in support of continuing to fund the police, and we're not going to defund the police department. I will tell you, as the mayor of the city, I look at the service delivery of each one of our departments, and that department, without a doubt, gets over 180,000 calls for service. That's not Bill Sappho calling. That's citizens calling their police department asking for help for a variety of different reasons. And when you have that kind of service delivery calls for a department, you don't cut it, you enhance it, or you look at ways to make it better. And I will say one thing about Donnie Williams. He believes in transparency. He's very good with the community, and the community has a lot of respect for him. But, you know, the transparency part of it is the most important part. Our police officers now have body cams. We have cars in the cameras in the cars. We have audios in the car. We want the community to have faith in our police department, and we want to be as transparent as possible. And if they are bad apples in our police department, like any police department, you're going to have it. You need to get rid of them as soon as you can, identify who the bad apples are, and move on. But training is very important to Chief Williams, and we will continue to improve upon our training. But I think we have a very good department. And look, those men and women have a very, very tough job. When you call a police officer to your home, it's not a good day. And these guys sometimes show up at some of the toughest issues, toughest things they have to deal with. Some of it has to do with mental health issues, crimes, domestic issues. And a lot of these are dangerous situations. And everybody's got a video camera today. And that they have to apprehend an individual because they are having a mental health crisis, which we find in many instances, it doesn't look good on camera, but they have to do what they have to do. And these men and women do a tremendous job. And to have over 180,000 calls for service and very few that we get called out on, I think it shows the professionalism of the department and the people there.
How badly was the city hurt on loss of room occupancy and sales tax this past year and continuing on now?
Well, we've got good news and bad news. On the room occupancy tax, especially in the downtown district where we lost a lot of the conventions and conferences because you couldn't use the convention center, it got shuttered since last year. Our room occupancy tax in the city of Wilmington was down considerably, about 42%. To offset that, the beach communities saw an overabundance of room occupancy tax. And as you can imagine, during the pandemic, a lot of people wanted to come to the beach so they could spread out, get outside, the sun, what have you, felt much more comfortable there. So the beach communities had a significant uptick in room occupancy tax, more than usual, which also helped in our sales tax revenues. We saw sales tax revenues that were pretty good, actually. And a lot of people were doing a lot of home repairs, going to Home Depot, Lowe's, doing a lot of stuff of that nature. But we did see a downtick in sales receipts for food and beverage and stuff of that nature. So I would say it was kind of a wash in room occupancy tax. But where we also saw an uptick in a lot of money, believe it or not, was our ABC commission. It's handed out a lot of good checks as of late. because it seems like a lot of people are home drinking more. So, whether that's good or bad, it's kind of offset some of that. But we've also had a pretty strong economy in many ways because of the amount of construction that has gone on. One of the things that has not been hurt in this environment has been construction for single-family homes, not only here in New Hanover County, but also in Brunswick County and Pender County. It's been very healthy, very strong. It's put a lot of people to work. What happens with that? Who knows? I always say, you tie your economy always to what the Federal Reserve is going to do based on what their interest rates are doing. But right now, since the interest rates have been fairly low, it has spurred a tremendous uptick in construction in our community. And I also, listening to a lot of the people that are in the real estate industry, one of the other things that we're hearing a lot of, believe it or not, is that 2017 tax law that was changed where you could, I think it was a cap of about $10,000 on your property taxes. Some of the higher tax states, like maybe New Jersey, New York, Connecticut, a lot of those people said, the heck with this. If I can't write off any more than $10,000 and my property taxes are running me $14,000 to $20,000, I'll either move to Florida or come down to the Mid-Atlantic, like North Carolina, and move there. And we're seeing a lot of migration from that. I think that's coming in also that has kind of helped us. But we feel that as the economy hopefully gets back on its feet, our sales tax revenues will be much more robust moving forward. But it's kind of been disjointed. We've had some that have been higher in certain parts of the economy, and some things that have obviously gone lower, like restaurants and bars and stuff of that nature.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, ma'am.
I saw in the paper that the county and the city government officials were going to be having a meeting fairly soon, I think. Mm-hmm. I just wondered if you could elaborate on what areas of cooperation or consolidation or whatever might be going on in that area.
Yeah, well, appreciate that. Yes, we are. And I try to meet at least once a year with the chairman of the county commissioners, go over a list of priorities or things that we can work on together. I think that we're definitely going to be talking about transportation infrastructure, in particular what we can do with roads, wave transit, homelessness that we're seeing an uptick in, especially in the downtown area. And we saw an uptick really after Florence, where we saw a lot of, it seemed like an uptick in the homeless individuals in our downtown area. I will tell you that we're probably going to be talking about diversity partnerships in our community. We're also going to be probably talking a little bit about Project Grace, which is a project that this county is talking about doing in downtown Wilmington with the redevelopment of the library there on 3rd Street, Grace, and 2nd. That may involve some office space that the city could purchase or lease from them. And I would also talk about affordable housing would probably be another thing that we'll be talking about. I know the affordable housing component is not only an important thing for the city of Wilmington, but also for the county of New Hanover, since we're both in it together. Right. They have affordable housing issues also. And I would probably say that we'll probably have some discussion about room occupancy tax, in particular with infrastructure. Beach renourishment is a big thing for this area. It brings a lot of tourists to our community. Mm-hmm. A lot of people are not aware of this, but in the last budget that President Trump signed, the OMB director took out beach renourishment funding for not only for us, I'm talking about Carolina Curia and Rights for Beach, but also for a lot of cities along that face the ocean. I think there was only 3 cities that were allowed, and I can't remember where they were, to keep their beach renourishment funding. So we have a lot of communities up and down the East Coast and the Gulf Coast that are going to be talking about beach renourishment. And hopefully with the new president's administration, the new OMB director, we hopefully we'll get that back into some sort of a budget process for this coming year.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. I have a question, man.
Yes, sir.
One issue, a big issue that we were concerned about at our January meeting was the sale of New Hanover Regional Medical Center to Levant. And in fact, I was directed and did write a letter to the Attorney General about it. But subsequently, there was an article, I think a week ago Saturday, that the Attorney General had approved the sale, but that some improvements in transparency with the foundation and some other things had changed. I wonder if you could comment on that process.
Yeah, I do know that there was a lot of concern about how this money was going to be spent moving forward, since it was going to be this foundation was going to be a private foundation instead of a public foundation. I think there was a lot of concern. Well, how can the public be assured that that money is going to be spent properly? And that was a legitimate question and a legitimate concern that a lot of residents had in the cell aftermath. I believe the Attorney General, by allowing the meetings, I guess, to be open where the citizens can have some accessibility to hear what they are saying, even though I think they may not even be able to talk about it, but at least be able to know where the money's being spent, I think was a good thing. I think that the Attorney General took his time, and I think ultimately, according to what our city attorney has said, has probably made the best decision that they possibly could. I personally, when this thing was first talked about, when New Hanover County selling it, I was personally against it. And I asked, the city council asked the county to put an advisory group, or at least a group to evaluate it so they could share that information with the community. I know some of the people that were appointed, both people that were for selling the hospital, for people that were against selling the hospital. And it seems like the consensus was that it was probably the right thing to do. What we hope to do out of this is, and I understand that transaction has been finalized and the money has been put into the bank at about $1.2 billion, somewhere in that name, is that the money will be, the $1.2 million will be held there. The interest on that money will be used in the community, and that each community, the city, the county, the individual beach communities, nonprofit organizations can formally then move and ask the foundation for grant funding for specific projects. I'll give you an example of one that I'm sure that we'll probably move forward with the county, is asking for this, for more Wi-Fi accessibility in our underserved areas, that where we're seeing a lot of young kids that are not being able to access their schoolwork because they don't have access to Wi-Fi. I think that's something that the foundation would definitely support. And I think they'll be looking for projects where they can make the investment that will make will create the help that is needed for parts of our community that are in need of certain things, whether it be healthcare issues, which I think a lot of it will be geared toward, but also social economic issues where we think that we can kind of break down some of the barriers that some people have in accessibility. And I guess they'll have to determine how that money will be spent. But I think that the people they put on the foundation board, at least I know one, which is the former mayor Spence Broadhurst, who I have a lot of respect for, I think will do the right thing and help us, with a lot of these issues that we find in our community. I did speak to the mayor of Asheville that when they sold their hospital about a year ago, very similar in size to ours, about the same amount of money. And she told me that so far in the foundation concept that they have there in Asheville, it has worked very well. They have predominantly used theirs for healthcare initiatives, and we do have healthcare initiatives here. We have food deserts here. We have high rates of diabetes and heart disease in certain parts of our community that are devastating some parts of our community. And whatever we can do to lower those rates also kind of lowers the overall cost of medical expenses and indigent care that the counties haven't picked up in the last in many years. I think we spend about $200 million a year in indigent care, where people that go to the hospital that don't have insurance. The more that we can lower that, the better we all are. But it's going to be a challenge for all of us. But I think healthcare is one of the areas that they'll be focusing a lot of their attention on.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
I have one other question.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Mayor, I know there's ongoing discussion about renaming some of the streets that are named for Confederate generals and so on. Could you explain what that process is, and are the citizens who live on those streets involved, or is it a governmental thing, or how does that work?
No, it is. The community has to be involved in that. The neighborhoods have to be involved in that. I know that there's a group of individuals and citizens that have gone out into that community, and we're talking about Pine Valley in particular, that I think all of the streets there are named after some Confederate general, where the citizens have to make the determination based on a survey or based on them signing off that over 50% of the residents in that particular street or that particular area have got to agree to change the name. So far,
Okay.
they have had no success in changing their names. And I think some of it is not so much the fact that they want the Confederate general's name is. I think it's a monetary issue that if you
Right.
change the name, then you have to change the whole process, your mailing and all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't see that getting any kind of momentum at this point in time,
Okay.
because those folks have been out there for the last couple of years trying to do this. In addition to that, I do want to just mention real quick that the city is in the process of undertaking a naming policy, renaming policy. We've had a lot of people in the last couple of years come to us and say, well, you need to change this, you need to do that.
Right.
And we just thought we needed to have a much more detailed and well thought out naming policy for the city of Wilmington, so that every time there's a generational change in our community, somebody says, well, you know what, I didn't like what they named that thing for, I want to change the name of it. We've got to have a better criteria in how we name things and do things. And so the city's undertaken this initiative to really come out and take a look at best practices around the country, and also
Good.
kind of put our fingerprint on it.
Good. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Any other questions for the mayor? Well, Mayor Saffo, we really appreciate
a question
your,
if we have a minute.
Go ahead.
Yeah, many of the people in the city and the county have depended on, particularly in all season, going out to Wrightsville Beach. And just to kick back for a little bit, their recent decision to jack their prices for meters up there by over 2/3, somewhere in that area, is it's kind of an ongoing thing, but it seemed to be a very big decision. I just was wondering if the city or the county had any input into that decision. And I think it does impact all of us that just like to get out there and take a break.
Sure.
Getting too prohibitive, expensive.
Yeah, we do not have any kind of decision-making process in that. Each beach community, Wrightsville, Carolina, and Curie Beach, are independent municipalities, just like the city of Wilmington is with our parking meters and our parking program. And they sit down and they convene and they make that determination. I will tell you this is just my own opinion. I think that the beach communities, especially Wrightsville, has found a way to generate revenue to offset having to raise taxes. And as I tell the mayors down there, from time to time, they have a captured audience because they have the Atlantic Ocean at their doorstep. And people, if they want to go to the Atlantic Ocean, they have nowhere, they have to go. I think what you'll see is, I think that if they keep raising those rates, which it looks like they will over time, that you're going to start seeing a lot more Ubering into those beach communities. And what we have seen, and we've seen this in Wilmington, and we've experienced it when we've getting calls, we've seen it, where individual citizens will park their cars in shopping centers or big parking areas like in Mayfair, maybe park their car there, call for an Uber, and run over to Wrightsville Beach and kind of circumvent that process. Not that I'm advocating for it, but that's what I've seen. And I think that as you see more, the rates go up higher and higher, people are going to continue to do that.
Interesting.
So there's always a way to skin the cat, as they say, and I guess people find the loopholes and know how to do it. I think it's upset some of the people over there understand there's a lot more Ubers, and as I tell the mayors over there, you're going to have an Uber traffic jam over there.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people are going to start taking cabs and taxis and what have you. But that's how people are doing it. A lot of people have done it, and we're starting to see a lot of people that are riding their bikes on the beach, using the Cross City Trail, and maybe parking at the university or whatever, and taking their bikes over to the beach for those that want to bike. But I think it's a balancing act, and I think you can jack it up too high, and you got a lot of citizens that may not be able to afford that, and that's unfortunate because they're not allowing buses on the beaches when you can't take public transportation. Mm-hmm. The municipality has got to invite that bus on the beach, and that's unfortunate. But that's their decision that they make, and it's only their decision. What we try to do in the city of Wilmington with our parking meters and everything is be very cognizant of the businesses there and the tourists that are visiting there, and try to make it fair and equitable. And so having the 7-member board is you have a lot more input than a 5-member board where you only have to have 3 votes. That 4th vote is a very tough vote. Let me just tell you, as the mayor of a city, 4 votes is a very tough vote to to get 4 individuals to agree upon something is not an easy task. Even if you're coming from the same party, people have different mindsets about different things, and it's to me, it's a better decision-making process than that.
Mhm. Good.
Any more questions for the mayor?
I just want to say thanks so much for taking time to be with us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you for allowing me to be here today and answering the questions. I really appreciate being given the opportunity to do this. Thank
Very,
you.
very informative.
Be sure and stay
presentation.
safe. Stay safe.
I will. I'm waiting for my shot like everybody else, but thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Well, that was, I think, a very informative presentation, as always. I'd like to go ahead and start our business meeting.
It's very important.
Call that to order. First item is the minutes that were sent out with an amendment.
I haven't seen the amendments yet.
Well,
I don't think I have either.
It'll be included in these minutes from this meeting today. I didn't want to send a mailing out for just that. I have it right here. Just a moment. I'll pull it up on the screen. So addendum to the minutes was Bob Fetterman gave a final report on our contributions to the Salvation Army during the holiday season. We gave a total of $591, which was contributed by 11 of our members. Much thanks again to our members who participated and to Bob for coordinating this effort.
Which was very disappointing from the size of our membership. I mean, the people on today's attendance are mainly people that gave. I mean, it's
Yeah.
we have a few active people.
Still, we did actually beat previous year totals, and I agree with
Yeah.
greater participation would really be very much desired. But I would entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
I make a motion that the minutes be approved as distributed and amended.
Second.
Anyone opposed? Minutes are approved. On the treasurer's report, many of you may or may not be aware, but Glenn Marshall, our treasurer, about a week ago or so, came down with the COVID himself,
No.
and he believes he caught it from his brother, who was visiting actually from Arizona, who travels around quite a bit for work, and Glenn's doing pretty well. He did not have to go to the hospital his brother did. I don't know how his brother's doing, but Glenn didn't feel well enough to do this meeting, and that we very much thank.
You're breaking up a little bit, Tom. Can you get closer to the mic or what?
Yes. Let me get a little closer to the mic. Is that better?
Yes.
Super.
Okay. Glenn Marshall, as I said, is ill. He's doing better. He said he thought he might even be able to join us, but he also has good times and bad. But he is recovering. But I think it's certainly a cautionary tale that this virus is still out there. And he did give a balance for our treasury report. Our current balance is $5,580.02. I don't think there were any expenditures this past month. And I do have a request. We'll be talking about the Federation meeting, but we've consistently bought an ad for the in support of the meeting, $50. I would like to ask that our chapter do that again. I'm not quite sure. We're doing things differently with it being a virtual meeting. I'm not sure we're going to do a booster booklet, but there will be ads. They will be either in the Beacon or on the website. Not sure how that's going to go. And I think Cheryl and I have traditionally had a separate ad. I think we might just contribute to the chapter, and that would give us a full page ad.
Would you like a motion that we do that, Tom?
Yes, I would.
I make a motion that we take from the treasury the money necessary for an ad, as Tom has described.
Second.
Any discussion?
Approve.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. It's approved.
Tom, fix your camera there. When you moved in, you're out of the shot moving.
Okay.
Don't nag him. He has enough on his mind.
Much better.
Yeah. Yeah. The legislative report. This has been very hectic this week. I did not get to go to the website and check exactly what's going on with legislation. But Robert Allen, our former Federation president, is now our national legislative officer. And he has put together a comprehensive plan for North Carolina outlining the things from NARF headquarters, but also things that he thinks he'd like us to see emphasize in North Carolina. And it's a 3-page thing. I'm not going to try to cover it all. But one of the priorities on retirement is trying to get the consumer price index changed to the CPIE for the elderly, which is a much better measure of the actual expenses that we're encountering with medical costs and so forth. So that's a big one. Legislation to repeal the increase in pension contributions for new federal employees, to make the TSP regulations similar to how IRAs and 401ks are handled. And I think that is important. Full disclosure of the fiscal stability of the Civil Service Retirement Fund. And a big one again, repeal or reform of the WEP, GPO for Social Security. Those are some of the things that they're going to emphasize. And I think there is a hope with change in administration that there might be more support and reception to interest, to NARF interests. So we will see. And of course, we have changes in the Congress. We have new party in power, with a very narrow majority in the Senate. So we'll have to see how all that plays out. Any questions about that? Okay, Judy, NARF PAC and Sunshine.
Yes, I got the final results for the 2019-2020 election cycle for NARF PAC, and the goal was to raise $1,750,000, which seems like a lot of money. But we actually raised $2,173,000. So the people in NARF PAC National were very pleased with that. This was the most that NARF members have ever contributed in a given cycle. So that's a good sign. I think it's impressive that almost 32,000 members made a contribution, and the average contribution was $68, which surprised me because, to be honest, I don't give that much. So that's the average contribution I thought was good. We need everybody, though, to continue to make a contribution and to keep that going, because your earned retirement and health benefits will always be threatened by some members of Congress.
Right.
In addition to protecting those benefits, the NARF PAC has recognized these issues as the ones that they are very concerned with: modifying postal reform proposals to preserve healthcare choices for postal retirees, enacting full COLAs for the FERS retirees, and supporting the current efforts to reform the WEP. So I'll just close with my normal little plea. Please, if you haven't given, give. If you've given and feel you can give more, please do that.
Okay.
And
Go
as
ahead.
far as the sunshine goes, I will now be sending Glenn a card. I did not know he was sick, and I'm so sorry. I hope he's going to be 100% better soon. I'll send him a card from all of us wishing him well. Do we have any birthdays or anniversaries in our small little band of brothers here who have met today? Well, anyway, let me just wish everybody happy Valentine's Day, and thank you.
Thank you, Judy. Membership, Fran and Walt.
Yes, the report for January, there were just a few things here. One member dropped. We have 2 prospective new members, which we will reach out to. And the rest are either change of address or change of email information. And one member was just a renewal. So the membership numbers are staying relatively the same. We haven't had anything drastically happen. We've been sending out the reports when we get them. The minutes.
Please get that, honey.
We try to keep everyone in the loop as much as possible, but we've not really heard back from anyone. It's been pretty quiet. So I guess all is well.
Fran, Fran, have you gotten confidence now in the figures that you're getting from the headquarters?
They just sent a report with just the numbers across. It's pretty very impersonal, just like a couple of numbers across the page, and that's
okay.
And you really can't call the office and talk to anybody. It doesn't seem to me that there's very many people working there.
Right.
So it's kind of like you're on your own.
Yeah. Okay.
And we do have a new member. Do you have his name?
We have
Cheryl.
two.
When Cheryl gets back up, she's going to give her report next. But we do have a new member that joined us.
Great.
From
That's
Virginia.
Great. Right, thank
you.
Tom, who is the new member?
Cheryl's going to.
I don't know what to say.
If she can find.
Oh yeah, I found it.
She found it. She's going to give a report next, and she can cover that. I just wanted to see what is Carolyn London still on?
She is.
Carolyn, do you want to say anything as the Federation membership person?
Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
We can hear you.
Thank you very much for inviting me today and letting me share your meeting with you. Thank you, membership people. It's been very difficult this year because we didn't have access to current employees. I think last year we had 20 health fairs. This year we've had 0.
Oh.
So our access has been very, very limited. So I don't expect the numbers are going to be great. However, Bill Shackelford did send a report a couple of days ago during the membership drive for the September 1 to December 31. We picked up 300 members. And I think that's pretty exciting because we don't have such good access as we often do. But I thank all of you who work very, very hard on membership. I know we all do. And I appreciate that very, very much. We are working on a briefing. In fact, I've done a draft of a briefing which will talk about membership. It'll be a membership manual, which will kind of be a supplement to the health fair manual that we produced. But I'll talk about all the gifts, all the types of membership, like a chapter of national distinguished gift, all kinds of memberships that are available and who is eligible. And getting the numbers and the figures for dues is a little like trying to nail down Jell-O because they change and some people have been grandfathered in. And so I've been trying to get a dues structure chart together, which should be helpful. And this would be something that we would present to all of the membership chairs. As Tom mentioned, he's just recruited 3. I think we had 74, I've forgotten how many chapters we had that we do not have membership chairs. We're trying to update that at this point. So
Right. Area 5 will only have 1 chapter that doesn't feel they can do that right now. So.
Well, that's great. Yeah. So anyway, we are trying to do some things, and at the same time, we do understand what a challenge it is. But I urge you to work your M112 report. As someone mentioned earlier, I think your chapter membership chair, reach out to everybody who appears as a prospective member. That is a good way to grab onto them. And I think letting people know that we're there is very helpful. Sometimes they say, oh, I've never heard from anybody since I expressed interest. So we do need to reach out a little bit more. And I do appreciate what you're all doing in that respect. Thank you, Tom.
Thank you, Carolyn. I'm going to turn the chair literally over to Cheryl now to talk about, to give a little bit of service officer report.
Well, I thought the member that I requested to be transferred from another chapter to here, that it was already in the database for 337, but apparently not.
No, he is.
He is?
He is.
Oh, okay. Okay. Anyway, this member was retired from the Postal Service, and he was in the Springfield, Virginia chapter, and now he's moved to Leland. He is also he's a musician, and he did write the anthem for the recent battleship in North Carolina. What? An event that they had on the battleship here. So that's kind of interesting. He composes music. He goes by Obi, and his name is Obataya Akinwole. That's why he goes by Obi, I think. Yeah. And his email has a music in the email even.
Is this, excuse me, is this the person who wrote the music? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Was it? Yeah. I think he's part of an AARP volunteer kind of thing. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I encouraged him to join today, but I don't know if he didn't get the email or what, but he sounds like he's going to be an interesting member to have.
Good.
He's on the email list.
We put him on the list already, Cheryl. Oh, okay, good. He just didn't happen to sign in this time.
Yeah, we'll call him and try to encourage him to participate on the online if he can until we meet physically.
Okay, thank you. And with all the COVID this and COVID that, the scams are there too, of course. One of the scams is to get a call saying, would you like to be scheduled for a vaccine? If you can pay me so much to, and I'll make sure that you get the vaccine. But that would not be the proper channels to go through.
Yeah.
You probably wouldn't get the vaccine either. And what was the other one?
Somebody coming to your house.
Oh, the other one is telephone to call you and say, we can come to your house and we can check for the COVID if you have any in your house.
Oh, gosh.
And they can probably check for all the valuables you might have or anything else at the same time. Does anyone
Is your automotive warranty expiring?
Yeah, I know. We've been looking for you, haven't we? Does anyone else have any comments or anything? No? Okay.
Thank you, Cheryl. All right. just a couple more items. I always do a little bit on the Federation. I would say the main thing we're doing is working on plans for the annual meeting, which will be Wednesday, I believe it's May 12th. And it is going to have a heavy emphasis on membership issues. One of our speakers is going to be, I believe his name is Dave Bowman. He's the new marketing director for NARF headquarters. I was able to hear him present at a meeting last week, and I think he has a lot of good ideas, and he'll be a good speaker, and I think we'll enjoy that. We're working on the other plans and so forth. I think there's some discussion, Carolyn, about a panel and something too about membership.
I haven't heard much about this, so.
But anyhow, that's the main thing on the Federation right now. We will be having our board meeting this coming Wednesday on February 10th, and we're all busy organizing for that, getting our reports in and so forth.
Tom, may I ask a question on that Federation meeting? Is that going to be free to anybody who wants to log in, or how's that going to go?
That will be free. You will need to register.
Okay. So we'll get some information on that coming up. Tom seems to be frozen.
It will be, oh my.
I think call letter number 2 is about ready to come out, isn't it?
I believe it is. Can you guys still hear me?
Yes, you're back now.
Okay, good.
What was the information you asked Judy? I didn't hear that.
I asked about if the Federation meeting was going to be free and, available online for anybody who wanted to watch.
Yes.
And he said yes, but you have to register.
And we are going to encourage, if say a husband and wife are both going to participate with one computer, that they register separately, because we're working on getting additional revenue for NARF, and the number of participants is going to affect that. We are going to try to do door prize drawings, try to make it as much as we can similar to the traditional meeting. This will be our second time doing it. So some of the few glitches we had the first time, hopefully will be taken care of. You mentioned, already talked a little bit with the mayor about the New Hanover Regional Medical Center sale to Navant. I did write a letter to the Attorney General. I've not heard anything back yet. I think I will follow up on it. But did any of you see the article in the Star News a week ago Saturday? Apparently, well, there was an article in the Star News. It talked about the Attorney General approving the sale, talked about the steps that have been taken to improve the transparency of the foundation. And as the mayor said, there will be a process of quarterly hearings. I'm not sure it's everything we would want to have, but it certainly sounded like a step in the right direction.
Good.
They made some changes.
Thanks for doing that, Tom.
Welcome. Future meetings. We were going to talk
on that letter. Did you check with Home Office, because you're putting an off letterhead on there?
Yes, it was
that letter
provided.
you sent into the Attorney General will have an off letterhead on it, from what I see. I suggest you check with the front office to make sure it's okay to do that.
That was provided by the Federation.
Okay.
And it is perfect. That is an officially approved NARF letterhead. I'm actually wearing NARF.
No, I'm not saying letterhead. I'm saying you're sending this information with the NARF letterhead on it.
Correct.
So I'm just saying that as far as they're concerned, then it's all NARF doing it. I'm just saying that you should check with the front office before you send it out. That's all I'm saying.
Well, it was strictly signed as, I signed it as chapter president, and it was written on behalf of the chapter.
That's what I'm saying.
There was no commitment in terms of the federation or NARF headquarters and so forth. And we are
That's why I'm just double
perfectly
checking, because you're putting on an off letterhead on the letter.
well. That's because it was
Right.
It was.
business from our chapter.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Just want to be.
Okay.
For what we send out.
I'd like to talk about future meetings. We decided we would want to review where we are. People are starting to get the vaccines, obviously. Still, the things are, the virus is still very present. There's over 13,000 cases as of yesterday in New Hanover County, 131 deaths. The other organizations are continuing to go by Zoom. I'm on the Community Advisory Committee and the Elder Abuse Prevention Networks for New Hanover County, and they've elected to continue with Zoom for the foreseeable future. But we did want to talk about it, review it today, so I would like to hear what folks think at this point.
Personally, my comments would be that we stay Zoom, say at least for the next maybe 3 months, and then see what happens.
Yeah, I agree with you.
I think we should do it a month at a time as the conditions are changing, and hopefully rapidly as the number of cases are going down and more people are getting vaccinated.
But remember, they did say that even after we're all vaccinated, for the time being, for the foreseeable future, we need to still stay 6 feet apart, mask up and everything. So how will that work in that small room or in the bigger room at the Golden Corral? You know, each of us having to be 6 feet from each other, it might be a little difficult.
Yeah, I agree with you, Judy.
I'd like to add one thing.
With the bigger room, it can be done with the number of people we're having. You know, we're only having 20 or 25 people.
Right.
Yeah, they would give us the whole room, and there would be a fair amount of room to spread out. Why don't we just review it each time? We will definitely do March by Zoom, and we can just.
My doctor's telling me that.
I gotta see how this vaccination is affecting the numbers before we get really involved with meeting again. At the
the media. I don't think the numbers are coming down due to the vaccinations yet.
They're coming down, but they forecast possibly another surge. So I'm saying at least probably 2 months before we get the numbers settled down and see where we're sitting at before we go any further on the meetings getting together again. That's my
How about
opinion.
if we keep it by Zoom through April, and then see where we are.
Would you like a motion to that effect?
Yes, that'll be fine.
Yeah.
I make a motion that we keep the meetings via Zoom for March and April and then revisit the issue.
Second.
I second it.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? I do want to comment. We're making the best of a difficult situation by doing this. But, you know, a number of our regular members have not felt able to come, maybe issues with technology or whatever. And that's a loss. I think we need to, as soon as we do feel that it's reasonable to go back together, and probably Golden Corral is the best opportunity at this point. And I was part of the group that visited in November, and they would have it set up pretty well. Out of our church out here, they have had social distancing, and everybody wears masks, and it's worked out reasonably well. Although we did have a little scare a week ago there. Let's just continue to be hopeful, and everybody do everything they can to get both shots as soon as you can. So.
We talked about.
All right, Jim, how about future speakers?
Well, next month it'll be the tax lady, Ludi. You guys remember Ludi Lepari? She'll be with us next month. In April, I'm maybe working on somebody for in the financial area. Again, I'm open to suggestions. If you have any, shoot me an email, and give me names and numbers and what you
I think there was
about that person.
a possible suggestion, the person that's at the state level for the COVID.
Mandy Cohen.
I believe that may be the name.
Yes, that's who it is.
Well, that's a possibility, I guess. I'll see. Of course, we see her all the time.
I was just going to say that's.
Okay.
How much more can you get?
Yeah.
Yeah, and
How much more do we need?
yeah, and she's awfully busy to come to
Yeah.
a small group like this. I don't think.
Yeah.
But Jim, I think in May I'd like to see the National Weather Service again.
Yeah, Steve Paff maybe
Yeah.
would be a good one, and by then we'll be thinking about hurricanes maybe. I mean, it's early in the season.
Yeah.
He's good. He always has good information.
Yeah.
I'll check that out
Thank you.
for April.
Thank you.
Sir,
Anything else? When you guys have ideas, just shoot me an email.
okay.
I'll follow up on it.
All right. Thanks, Jim. Any other items under new business?
I move we adjourn.
And is there a second?
Before we do, I need to make one comment. I have to congratulate Bill Guyton. Well done.
Thank you.
Right, Bill. Good job.
Thank you very much. I also want to mention, I was counting the panels. We had at one point, we had 15 panels or 15 computers on, and then at least, that was to include the mayor, and then we had at least 3 extra spouses, so 18 for today's total.
Right.
That's
That
a
may
new
be
record.
a record.
Math either, Bill.
That said, you're still good at math.
Well, I want to thank everyone. We had a good meeting, and
Tom, do you want to mention about Alzheimer's again? Sending a check
yes,
to
I
John?
encourage you. One person that has not been able to get on with the computer is John Gordon, but he has received a few contributions, and he has been sending them forward. We will include again to the minutes his address and contact information.
Good.
Please consider donating, and please consider participating in the annual meeting. I think it's going to be good. The price is right, and I think that'll be a good opportunity.
I would like to just make a comment, if I could.
Go ahead.
You're talking about Alzheimer's. My husband had to go into memory care in October, and I actually was able to get him into Brookdale, and I didn't realize that there was a discount for Brookdale for
That's
being a
correct.
member of this group. So I initially they would not honor it because I was a little late asking for it, but I asked for it before he actually physically got there. And I worked with corporate organization, and they got it for me within an hour. So I just wanted to pass that on because I think that's so important, as we look at membership benefits. And it's
What percentage discount is it?
7.5%
That's great.
a monthly rate. Yeah.
If you look in your NARF magazine in the back where it shows the affinity partners. Brookdale is one
Well,
of
that's
them.
where I found it.
Good.
But I found it after I had signed the contract, but we renegotiated the contract. So I just passed that on because benefits are so important.
Excellent.
Thank you, Shirley.
I wanted to mention something to you. I had a call from the Brookdale district manager for the area up here in Raleigh, Durham, Chapel Hill, and we had him as our speaker at our last meeting. His name is Davis Capps. I don't know what areas he covers other than the Research Triangle Park and Chapel Hill and that kind of thing. But he gave us a very interesting presentation.
That's certainly a possibility. Another one is a group called Mars. I think it's memory assessment something. If you have any concerns about your memory, you can go see them and get tested to identify any early issues or problems. And we can get information. And I'm pretty sure that they would be able to come and do a presentation if we wished.
That's a good idea, Tom.
Okay.
Now, if Jim can just remember to follow up on it.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm sure if I don't, I'll get reminded. So, yeah, that's always a nice thing.
Well, I think a very good meeting under the circumstances. Mayor Sappho did a wonderful presentation. Carolyn, again, thank you for joining us and for your comments and contributions. We appreciate it.
Thank you for inviting me.
And,
Stay safe, everybody.
Stay safe.
Stay safe.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Take care. Bye-bye.